It's an old truth in American politics. It's never the crime, it's the cover-up. An arrest warrant was issued today for former presidential candidate John Edwards after his indictment on criminal charges. And while Edwards has been convicted of no crime and might never be, these charges could carry a prison sentence, a serious one. Whatever the outcome of his case, the electorate is now faced with the spectacle of a man who once aspired to the White House, but may end up in the big house. Here's Bob Woodruff.
With his daughter Kate by his side, today former senator and Democratic presidential candidate John Edwards said he will fight the charges against him and win.
I will regret for the rest of my life the pain and the harm that I've caused to others. But I did not break the law, and I never, ever thought I was breaking the law.
But the government charges he did just that, alleging he illegally solicited donations during the campaign to hide his affair with Rielle Hunter and the child he fathered with her. The indictment stating, quote, the public revelation of the affair and pregnancy would destroy his candidacy. Though Edwards did not confirm the affair until after he was no longer in the race, it did in fact destroy his political career and personal life. Edwards denied that anyone was ever paid to cover up the affair when he first admitted to the relationship with Hunter here on Nightline.
I've never paid a dime of money to any of the people that are involved. I've never asked anybody to pay a dime of money, never been told that any money's been paid.
It's the latest and likely final chapter in one of the most sordid sex scandals in American political history.
So your assumption is that you would just never be caught?
First of all, it was short. It was a huge judgment, mistaken judgment. But yeah, I didn't think anyone would ever know about it. I didn't.
Why did you continue to deny it and not tell the truth?
Because I did not want the public to know what I had done. Very simple.
And it was that attempt to conceal the affair that led to today's indictment. At the heart of the elaborate cover-up was this man, Andrew Young.
How much money was actually devoted to this cover-up?
I know of over $1 million.
Young was a close Edwards aide, willing to go to extremes to help his boss.
I fell in love with him, and I viewed my job as doing everything that I could to let him focus on running for president.
Young served as a go-between, keeping Edwards' mistress from being discovered by his wife Elizabeth, who was battling cancer.
He leaned over very quietly and he said, Andrew, whatever you do, don't let Elizabeth see Rielle.
That was his big fear.
That was his big fear.
But soon, Edwards had an even bigger fear. His mistress was pregnant. And while he was surging in the polls, the National Enquirer started publishing photos of Hunter, alongside claims that he was the father of her baby.
Tabloid trash is full of lies.
But despite his vehement denials,
were you at Beverly Hilton with Rielle Hunter?
Right now. I'll be happy.
the story was heating up. He turned to his trusted confidant.
He wanted me to issue a statement claiming paternity for Rielle's child.
And so Andrew Young took the fall, claiming the child as his own, even though he already had a wife and kids. They all went into hiding with Rielle Hunter.
Did John Edwards know where you're going?
Yes.
Does he know why?
Yeah. He might not know where exactly we were living, but he knew about the money, he knew about the methodology, and he knew about the sources.
But Edwards' wealthy campaign operative, Fred Barron, now deceased, claimed the secret travel plan was his idea to foil tabloids hounding a visibly pregnant Rielle. The government says Barron spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on the plan, including one envelope stuffed with $1,000 in cash and a note warning, old Chinese saying, use cash, not credit cards.
Looking over the bay at the Lowe's Coronado Resort.
Suddenly, the middle-class Youngs were living like kings, with Barron footing the bill for this mansion in California.
You know, we were living in mansions, flying around in jets, and it was like falling down a rabbit hole.
The indictment lays out just how the money was spent to keep Hunter away from the attention of the media and in the lap of luxury. There were pricey flights for Hunter on chartered jets, including one for $29,000. Payments for trips to Florida, Colorado, and California, a $59,000 bill for a rental property. And in just 1 month alone, the government claims $180,000 was spent on keeping Hunter out of the public eye. At the time of our interview, Edwards told me he didn't know any of it was happening.
I do need to tell you, though, through ABC investigation, there has been evidence, or we've been told, that there about $15,000 a month have been paid to Miss Hunter so that she could actually live out in California.
I mean, I can answer this 100 times the same way. I had nothing to do with any money being paid, and had no knowledge of any money being paid. And it wasn't being, if something was being paid, it wasn't being paid on my behalf.
Meanwhile, Young says Edwards was pledging his loyalty.
Edwards, John, I just want once again to tell you I really love you, Edward.
And promising him a job as the director of a foundation that was to be set up with funding from heiress Bunny Mellon, a major campaign donor.
I had a wonderful conversation with Long and wonderful conversation with Bunny. I think we can completely count on her.
But when the job never materialized, the relationship soured, and it was Young's book about the affair that finally forced John Edwards to admit he was in fact the father of Rielle Hunter's daughter, Quinn, now 3 years old.
Thank you all very much.
The indictment is just the next blow in an already crushing year for the Edwards family. Elizabeth Edwards lost her battle with cancer just 6 months ago. These days, John Edwards continues to live in North Carolina and reportedly sees his children often, including daughter Quinn. The politician who came to prominence as a hotshot trial lawyer, facing perhaps the most important case of his life.
And Bob Woodruff joined us now from Winston-Salem. Bob, what an extraordinary day, really, in American political history. What was the emotion like there?
Well, in terms of the emotion, certainly when John Edwards came out with Kate, his daughter, she's 28 years old now. She knows all about these details, all about the law. But they came out there and they stood side by side. So certainly publicly, they're being very, very close. What we just don't know is if they're doing the same thing when they're actually private with themselves.
So this is a family drama in addition to everything else. And what comes next legally, Bob?
Well, legally, of course, they're going to go to trial. He had to surrender his passport. He was told he can't get another one. He can't leave the country now. He has to stay in the continental U.S., which means he cannot go to the other two states, to Alaska and Hawaii. He's got to stay here. And that trial, we are told, is going to be happening starting on July 11th. We'll see if that happens.
All right, Bob, an amazing day there, an amazing story. Thanks very much for that report.